Hey, this is a mic test. Mike, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Hi, welcome back to the shop. We're talking about wood number 2 today, African mahogany. And I'm really excited because I'm going to tell you about mahogany. And I get to tell you a story and talk about one of my friends that I miss. Okay, so African mahogany, this piece is, oh, it's so pretty. It's just so pretty. Mahogany, I grew up in like suburban neighborhood near big box store. So the woods I was familiar with were pine, oak, poplar, and an occasional cedar. Like those are the woods that were near me and around me. Mahogany was it was touted as like the fancy wood. Like you think of commercials of a camera panning across a piano or some furniture, and it's like, ooh, mahogany. So when I had a chance to actually get some and work with it, of course I did, and it's a nice wood. Like I've got some feelings as a woodworker. As far as aesthetics, so one of the cool things about mahogany is it's got this reflective luminance, this chatoyance that no matter what kind of piece you get, whether it's from the bowl, which is the trunk, or a root ball or a branch or anywhere, like every piece of African mahogany I've ever touched is really pretty. And it has a nice smell too. Like it kind of smells. Okay, so let me take a step back. There are a lot of mahoganies. There's African mahogany, Honduran mahogany, sapele mahogany, American mahogany, and even some woods that are mahoganies that go by different names, like Spanish cedar. And Spanish cedar is the wood, when you think of like a walk-in humidor or the desktop humidors that smell, that's Spanish cedar. And it smells like holiday spice, like allspice and nutmeg. It is my favorite smelling wood. But African mahogany, like when I was cutting it, I was getting a scent very similar to the Spanish cedar, which is a mahogany. It's like a much less potent smell than the African mahogany, kind of the equivalent of those bubbly waters where they say it tastes like peach, but really just tastes like peach. That's sort of the smell. Very pleasant, not as strong. Now, mahogany itself, it doesn't like it is a little bit dense, but not dense like white oak or maple. So it doesn't burn quite as much. It doesn't have a lot of sap. It's not very brittle, so you're not getting splinters very easily. It cuts really nicely. It glues really well. It smells good. Every piece looks pretty. Like from a woodworker's perspective, ooh, mahogany. It's become one of my favorite woods. So yeah, I made this board, and the really cool thing about this is I could not see some of the character in this wood until I finished it. Like it blew my mind how pretty it was. Okay, so that's African mahogany. Now, I had a woodworking mentor named Chad. I put this somewhere safe. And let me tell you, just as an aside, as a person trying to learn and develop in a craft, having a friend that was constantly matching my energy in excitement of, ooh, did you try this? And have you looked at this? And look what I did. And what you did is amazing. That back and forth, it was a constant dialogue, and it kept me going. And, when you learn a new skill, you suck at it for a while, and then you find something that's fun, you get a little bit into it, and then once you've mastered just the basic level of skills, it starts to get hard again because you're moving a level. And I know a lot of friends that I've heard anecdotally, like once something gets hard, like I'm not interested in it anymore. But you've got to get through that to get to the next level. Chad was one of the people. He did not acknowledge it was difficult. He just kept feeding me with different types of, feeding me emotionally with new wood types and new ideas and projects and just excitement to talk about it. And so, he was my woodworking mentor because he, like me, he approached learning new things the way that I did, just sort of an all-consuming. I want to know everything about it, and find out what I really like before I dive into anything specific. In woodworking, he had such a wide or broad knowledge of woodworking and techniques and tools and people. It was inspiring. He was my mentor. Unfortunately, he passed last December, and so I've really been missing his presence in this journey. But he gave me a piece of African mahogany that is probably the prettiest piece of wood I've ever had. And it wasn't smooth or cleaned up when he gave it to me, but you could see how amazing this was going to be. And so much so that when I got it, I cut off a little piece and I sanded it and I cleaned it up just so I could see the figure in the wood. And it was incredible. So on this journey of the tree gallery, I actually have two pieces of mahogany today. We have the plain, just off the shelf African mahogany, and then I've got this piece, which is a figured African mahogany. And what they mean by figured, you'll hear this most often with instruments, because instruments usually have the nicest figured woods. It's called luthier grade. But figure, broadly speaking, is when the appearance of the wood, when the grain pattern is outside of its normal growing, just straight grain patterns. When you see things that are sort of wiggly or they're all over the place, that's what figure means. And it could be a whole variety of changes. In this one, I don't know actually what kind of figure this is called, but it looks like sort of, I would describe it as a paisley and sort of silk. It's just incredible. And I'll show you the close-up on that. But I got to use this piece. I'm going to put two in the store. If you go to my website, jeremyminnick.com, you can sign up for my newsletter, which I have yet to send one. But when these boards are ready for purchase, you'll find out from that email newsletter whenever that happens. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.